The listening post floated in the darkness between stars. It was a small station, barely large enough for 20 people. Lieutenant Hana sat at her console, watching the screens that showed nothing but empty space. She had been doing this job for 3 years now. Most days were quiet. Most days, nothing happened. Today was different. The signal came through at 0400 hours. Hana was drinking her coffee when the computer started beeping. At first she thought it was a malfunction. The signal was weak and broken. But as she cleaned it up, her hands started shaking. "Captain Jiho," she called over the intercom. "You need to see this." Jiho arrived within minutes. He was a tall man with tired eyes. He had commanded this station for 8 years. In all that time, they had never received a distress call. The galaxy was peaceful, or so everyone said. Hana played the signal for him. A voice came through the speakers. It was high-pitched and musical, nothing like a human voice. The translator worked slowly, turning the alien words into Korean. "This is Valen Prime, under attack, millions dead. They are burning our cities, please anyone, we need help." The signal cut out. Then it repeated. Over and over, the same desperate message. Jiho felt his stomach turn cold. "How long has this been transmitting?" 3 days, sir," Hana said quietly. "The signal traveled 47 light-years to reach us." 3 days, Jiho repeated. He knew what that meant. Whatever was happening to the Velans, it had been going on for 3 days already. Maybe longer. He immediately sent the signal to Earth Command. Then he sent it to the Galactic Council. Humans had been part of the Council for 200 years now. Surely they would respond. Surely someone would help. The response from Earth Command came within an hour. "Stand by. Await Council decision." The response from the Galactic Council came 6 hours later. Ambassador Yuna delivered it herself over a secure channel. Her face on the screen looked pale and angry. "The Council has voted," she said. Her voice was tight. "They have decided not to intervene." Jiho stood up so fast his chair fell over. "What? Why?" "Non-interference protocols," Yuna said. She almost spat the words. "They say the Krath Dominion has a right to expand their territory. They say the Velans should have built stronger defenses." "That's insane," Hana whispered. "The Velans are artists and philosophers. They don't even have a real military." Yuna nodded. "I know. I argued for hours. But the council members wouldn't listen. Most of them didn't even seem to care." She paused. "No, that's not true. Some of them cared very much, just not in the way we hoped." "What do you mean?" Jiho asked. Yuna looked around, even though she was alone in her office. "I did some digging. The Valen system has rare minerals, elements that are worth billions. The Council has been watching the Krath advance for months. They're planning to move in after the Krath finish. After they finish killing everyone, they'll claim the resources as abandoned territory." Hana made a sound like someone had punched her. "They're letting genocide happen so they can steal from the dead?" "That's exactly what they're doing," Yuna said. "And when I confronted them, they reminded me that Earth is a junior member of the Council. They said we should remember our place. They called us Deathworlders, primitives. They said we don't understand civilized politics." Jiho walked to the window. Outside, the stars were cold and distant. Somewhere out there, people were dying. People were screaming for help. And the galaxy was going to let it happen. "Sir?" Hana said softly. "What do we do?" Jiho thought about his history classes. He thought about the old wars on Earth. The times when evil spread because good people did nothing. The times when everyone said it wasn't their problem. He thought about the promise humanity had made after the last World War. "Never again." "Hana," he said slowly. "Do you know what the emergency beacon is?" She frowned. "The old military system? I thought that was deactivated 200 years ago." "Not deactivated," Jiho said. "Just sleeping." He turned to face her. "When humanity joined the Galactic Council, we agreed to put our military in standby mode. We said we wanted peace. We said we wanted to be civilized. But our leaders weren't fools. They built the beacon just in case. Just in case of what? Just in case the galaxy needed the Death Worlders again. Hana's eyes went wide. Sir, if you activate that beacon without council permission, you'll be court-martialed. Your career will be over. Jiho smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Probably, but I'll be able to sleep at night. He moved to the main console. Send a message to the Velans. Tell them help is coming. But sir, we don't have any ships nearby. Earth's fleet is... Trust me, Jiho said. He pulled up a screen that most people had forgotten existed. It showed a map of the solar system. All across it, small red dots were scattered. Hundreds of them, hidden in asteroids, buried on moons, floating in the dark spaces between planets. Each dot was a ship. Each ship was waiting. Jiho entered his command codes. The computer asked him 3 times if he was sure. Each time he confirmed. Then he pressed the final button. The beacon activated. Far away on Earth, alarms started ringing. In military headquarters that had been quiet for 2 centuries, lights began flashing. Deep underground, in frozen chambers, people started waking up. On Mars, in enormous hangars, ancient machines came to life. Ambassador Yuna called back within minutes. Jiho, what did you do? Every alarm in the Defense Ministry just went off. I did what the Council won't do, Jiho said calmly. I called for help. On her screen, Yuna could see military officers running behind her. Someone was shouting orders. Someone else was pulling up ship manifests that hadn't been accessed in 200 years. Do you understand what this means? Yuna asked. The whole galaxy is about to see what Earth has been hiding. Good, Jiho said. Let them see. Let them understand. We tried being civilized. We tried playing by their rules. But we're still humans. And humans don't watch genocide happen. Not ever again. The distress signal from Valen Prime kept playing. But now someone was finally listening. And soon someone would answer. In the darkness between stars, the fleet began to wake. Admiral Taeyang woke to the sound of sirens. For a moment he didn't know where he was. Everything was cold. His body felt heavy and strange. Then memory came flooding back. The cryo chamber. He had volunteered 200 years ago. Sleep until humanity needs you again, they had said. He never thought the call would actually come. A medic appeared above him. Welcome back, Admiral. Try not to move too fast. Your body needs a few minutes to adjust. Taeyang tried to speak, but his throat was dry. The medic gave him water. After a few sips, he managed to ask, Why am I awake? The beacon was activated, sir. We're going to war. War. The word seemed to belong to another time, to the old Earth before they joined the Galactic Council. Before peace, against who? Taeyang asked. The Krath Dominion, sir. They're killing the Velans. The Council refused to help. Captain Jiho activated the emergency protocols. Taeyang smiled. Jiho. He didn't know the man, but he liked him already. Someone with courage. Someone who remembered what it meant to be human. All around him, other chambers were opening. Thousands of soldiers were waking up. They had all volunteered for the same duty. They were the insurance policy. The last defense. The ones who would wake when good people needed protecting. Within an hour, Taeyang was in the command center. His body still ached, but his mind was sharp. On the screens in front of him, he could see the fleet coming online. Chief Engineer Minho was already there, working at 3 consoles at once. Admiral, good to see you awake, sir. Status report, Taeyang said. Minho pulled up a holographic display. We have 347 ships coming online. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and cruisers. Another 500 fighters. Most systems are responding well. The ships have been in maintenance mode for 2 centuries, but the automated systems did their job. Weapons? All functional. Railguns, plasma cannons, missile batteries, and the gravity weapons. Everything we built during the Unification Wars. Everything the Council made us promise to never use. Taeyang studied the display. The fleet was massive, much larger than the small defense force Earth officially maintained. When humanity joined the Council, they had promised to demilitarize. They had promised peace. But humanity had also promised to never let genocide happen again. Some promises were more important than others. How long until we can move? Taeyang asked. 12 hours for the full fleet, Minho said. But I can have the first battle group ready in 6. Make it 4. Minho grinned. Yes, sir, a new voice called out. Admiral on deck. Tai Yang turned to see Commander Suman entering the command center. She wore a flight suit and had a helmet under her arm. Behind her, a group of pilots filed in. Wraith Squadron reporting, sir, Suman said, saluting. All pilots accounted for and ready. Tai Yang returned the salute. Have your people been briefed on the Krath? Yes, sir. We've been studying their tactics for the past hour. They rely on numbers and fear. They use biological weapons and terror tactics, but they've never fought anyone from a high-gravity world. Meaning? Suman's smile was sharp. Meaning their pilots can't handle the G-forces we can. Their ships are built for comfort, not combat. They've been bullying peaceful species for years. They've never faced a real fight. Taeyang nodded. It was true. Earth's gravity was more than twice what most species considered normal. Humans who grew up there were stronger, tougher, and more resilient. In space combat, that meant human pilots could make turns that would kill other species. Don't get cocky, Taeyang warned. They still outnumber us. Let them, Suman said. Quantity has a quality all its own, but so does being from a death world. Over the next few hours, the command center filled with activity. Officers who had been sleeping for 2 centuries adjusted to the new galaxy. Engineers brought ancient weapons back to life. Soldiers prepared for a war that no one had expected. A young private approached Taeyang nervously. His name tag read Hyun, sir. Can I ask a question? Go ahead, Private. And why are we doing this? The Velans are aliens. They're not human. Most of them think we're primitives. Why should we risk our lives for them? It was a good question. An honest question. Taeyang gestured for Hyun to walk with him. They moved to a window that looked out over the Mars shipyards. Massive ships were moving out of their hangars, their hull lights blazing in the darkness. Do you know why I volunteered for cryosleep? Taeyang asked. No, sir. I fought in the Unification Wars. I saw what happens when good people do nothing. I saw cities burn. I saw millions die because other countries said it wasn't their problem. Taeyang's voice grew quiet. I swore that if I ever had another chance, I would stand between the helpless and those who would harm them. I don't care if the helpless are human or alien. I don't care if they like us or not. It's not about them. It's about us. It's about who we choose to be. Hyun was silent for a moment. So we're fighting for our own souls? Something like that, Taeyang said. The galaxy thinks we're monsters because we come from a harsh world. Because we evolved fighting and surviving. Maybe they're right. Maybe we are monsters, but we can choose what kind of monsters to be. An alarm sounded. Minho's voice came over the intercom. Admiral, first battle group is ready. All ships report green status. Taeyang returned to the command center. On the main screen, he could see the fleet assembling. 40 ships ready to jump. More would follow as they came online. Open a channel to all ships, Taeyang ordered. Channel open, sir. Taeyang took a breath. This is Admiral Taeyang to all fleet elements. 200 years ago, we went to sleep hoping the galaxy wouldn't need us. Today we wake because they do. The Krath Dominion is committing genocide against the Velan people. The Galactic Council has refused to act, so we will act. We will jump to Velan Prime. We will face an enemy that outnumbers us, and we will show them what happens when you threaten the innocent. He paused. We are from Earth, we are Deathworlders, and we do not let evil win. All ships prepare for jump. Across the fleet, engines began to glow. The ships started to move, forming up into battle formation. In the command center, someone started playing music. It was an old song from Earth, a song about standing up when everyone else sits down, about fighting when everyone else runs. Taeyang closed his eyes and took a breath. Then he gave the order. All ships, jump. Space door open. The fleet disappeared, crossing 47 light years in seconds. They were going to war, and the galaxy was about to remember why humans were called Deathworlders. The jump through space felt like falling and flying at the same time. Inside the medical bay of the flagship, Medic Nari checked her supplies for the 100th time. Bandages, plasma packs, surgical tools, antibiotics. Everything was organized and ready, but she knew it wouldn't be enough. You're worried, a voice said behind her. Nari turned to see Captain Jiho standing in the doorway. He had come aboard just before the fleet jumped. The listening post where he worked was now quiet and empty. He had left it all behind to join them. Of course I'm worried, Nari said. The Krath use biological weapons. They torture prisoners. I've read the reports. I know what we're going to find down there. Jiho nodded slowly. I've been listening to the Valen broadcasts. It's bad. Their cities are burning. Their people are dying. The last message said they're down to one city. Just one. He looked at his hands. If we're too late, then we make the Krath pay, Nari said quietly. And we save whoever we can. The ship's intercom crackled. All personnel, this is Admiral Taiyang. We will arrive at Valen Prime in 2 hours. Prepare for combat, 2 hours. Nari went back to organizing her medical bay. She had 30 beds ready. She had 6 other medics helping her. They could handle maybe 200 casualties if they worked fast. She tried not to think about how many more there might be. In the crew quarters, Private Hyun sat on his bunk. Around him, other soldiers were checking their weapons and armor. Some were praying. Some were silent. Some were making jokes the way soldiers always did before battle. Hyun wasn't doing any of those things. He was thinking. The question he had asked Admiral Taeyang kept running through his mind. Why were they risking everything for aliens who didn't even like them? He understood the Admiral's answer. It made sense. But understanding and believing were different things. An older sergeant sat down next to him. His name was Do-hyun, and he had been awake for 12 hours longer than Hyun. He had more time to adjust to being 200 years in the future. First battle? Do-hyun asked. Yes, Sergeant. Scared? Hyun thought about lying. Then he nodded. Yes, Sergeant. Good, fear keeps you alive. Just don't let it stop you from doing your job. Do-hyun checked his rifle, then looked at Hyun. You're still wondering why we're doing this, aren't you? Is it that obvious? I've seen that look before. Let me tell you something, kid. I was 10 years old during the Unification Wars. I lived in a city that was under siege. The enemy surrounded us. They cut off our food and water. People were starving, and the rest of the world said it wasn't their problem. Hyun listened quietly. Then a unit from another country broke through the lines. They didn't have to. Their government actually ordered them not to. But they came anyway. They brought food. They brought medicine. They fought the enemy until we could escape. Do-hyun's voice grew rough. My mother died before they arrived. But my little sister lived because of those soldiers. They saved thousands of us. And when I asked their commander why they came, you know what he said? What? He said, because when you see someone drowning, you don't ask their nationality before you jump in the water. Do-hyun stood up. That's why we're going to Valen Prime, because we're humans and humans jump in the water. The intercom crackled again. All stations, we are entering the Valen system. Enemy contacts detected. 300 Krath ships. Prepare for engagement, 300. Hyun felt his stomach drop. The human fleet only had 40 ships. They were outnumbered more than 7 to 1. Get your gear, Private, Do-hyun said. It's time to show these Krath what Death Worlders can do. On the bridge, Admiral Taeyang studied the tactical display. The Krath fleet surrounded Valen Prime like a noose. They had orbital bombardment platforms. They had landing ships. They had enough firepower to destroy the planet 10 times over. But they hadn't seen the human fleet yet. Passive sensors only, Taeyang ordered. Don't let them know we're here yet. Sir, should we contact the Krath? Give them a chance to surrender? An officer asked. Taeyang thought about the distress calls. The messages of cities burning and millions dead. No, we gave them a chance. It was called Don't Commit Genocide. They didn't take it. Commander Suman entered the bridge. All fighters ready, Admiral. Just give the word. Not yet, Taeyang said. He opened a channel. Captain Jiho, can you reach the Valens? From his position at the communications station, Jiho nodded. Trying now, sir. It took 3 minutes. Finally, a voice came through. It was the same musical tone Hana had heard days ago, but now it was weak, tired, full of pain. This is Valen Prime. Who is calling? This is Captain Jiho of Earth. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Silence. Then Earth? The Death World? Why would you? We thought no one was coming. The Council abandoned us. The Council did, Jiho said. We didn't. Hold on a little longer. We're going to get you out of there. Another voice came through. It sounded older. I am Elder Vosh of Valen Prime. How many ships do you have? The Krath have hundreds. Taeyang took over the channel. This is Admiral Taeyang commanding the Terran fleet. We have 40 ships and 500 fighters, and we come from a world where survival means fighting. Where being outnumbered is just another Tuesday. Hold your position, Elder. We're about to even the odds. 40 ships against 300? Elder Vosh's voice cracked. You'll all die. Maybe, Taeyang said. But we'll die doing the right thing. And if we're lucky, we'll take the Krath with us. He closed the channel and turned to his crew. All ships break stealth. Activate all weapons. Fighter wings launch. The human fleet appeared on every Krath sensor at once. 40 warships bristling with weapons. 500 fighters streaming out like angry hornets. Moving fast. Moving with purpose. In the Krath command ship, alarms started blaring. The Krath commander stared at the display in confusion. Earth? The primitive Deathworlders? What were they doing here? Send a message, the Krath commander ordered. Tell them to leave or be destroyed. The message was sent. The response came back immediately. Admiral Taeyang's voice was cold and clear. This is the Terran Retaliation Force. You are ordered to cease all hostile actions against Velan Prime immediately. Surrender your fleet and prepare to face justice for crimes against sentient life. You have 1 minute to comply. The Krath commander laughed. They're insane. Open fire. Destroy them. The Krath fleet turned to face the humans. 300 ships against 40. It should have been easy, but the Krath were about to learn a hard lesson. Numbers didn't matter when you were fighting someone who had nothing to lose. And humans had learned long ago how to fight when outnumbered. The battle was about to begin. The first shots came from the Krath. Hundreds of plasma bolts streaked across space, turning the darkness bright with deadly light. The Krath expected the human ships to scatter, to run, to die. Instead, the human ships accelerated directly into the fire. All power to forward shields. Admiral Taeyang ordered calmly. Return fire. The human warships opened up with railguns. These weren't energy weapons that could be dodged or absorbed. These were solid metal slugs moving at a fraction of light speed. When they hit Krath ships, they punched straight through. 3 Krath destroyers exploded in the first 10 seconds. They're not evading, a Krath officer screamed. They're just charging us. The Krath commander felt something cold in his chest. Fear. These humans were crazy. They were supposed to be civilized now, part of the council. Peaceful. But there was nothing peaceful about the way they fought. Commander Suman led her fighter wing through the chaos. The Wraith Squadron moved like they were dancing. Her hands moved over the controls, pulling Gs that would have knocked out any other species. Behind her, the other human pilots followed her lead. Break by pairs, Suman ordered. Let's show them what a Deathworld pilot can do. The Krath fighters tried to engage, but they were too slow, too predictable. They had been fighting peaceful species for so long that they'd forgotten what real combat looked like. Suman locked onto a Krath fighter and fired. Direct hit. The enemy ship exploded into fragments. 1 down. Too easy. Around her, the other human pilots were racking up kills. The Krath had numbers. The humans had skill, and rage, and a righteous fury that made them unstoppable. On the ground of Velan Prime, the last city trembled under bombardment. Elder Vosh stood in the command center watching the battle in orbit through what sensors still worked. They're actually fighting, he whispered. The humans are actually fighting for us. A younger Velan looked at the display. But Elder, they're so outnumbered. They can't win. Watch, Elder Vosh said. Just watch. In space, Admiral Taeyang studied the tactical board. They had destroyed 20 Krath ships, but they had taken damage too. 2 human destroyers were badly hurt. 1 carrier was venting atmosphere. Sir, the Krath are trying to break off and retreat to their bombardment platforms, an officer reported. Don't let them, Taeyang ordered. All ships pursuit course. Target those platforms. The human fleet pushed forward. They were inside the Krath formation now, too close for the Krath to use their numbers effectively. It was chaos. Pure chaos. Ships exploding, weapons firing in every direction, and the humans were winning. Chief Engineer Minho worked frantically at his station. Admiral, I'm picking up something. The Krath flagship is charging a weapon. Readings are consistent with a biological payload. The plague weapon, the Krath's feared superweapon, it released a virus that could kill an entire planet. Target that ship, Taeyang ordered. All batteries. Fire everything. 6 human warships focused fire on the Krath flagship. Railguns, plasma cannons, missiles. The Krath shields held for 3 seconds. Then they collapsed. The weapons tore into the hull. The Krath commander had one last moment to realize his mistake. He had thought humans were soft, civilized. He died still not understanding that humans had only pretended to be civilized. Deep down, They were still the apex predators from their death world. The Krath flagship exploded. The biological weapon went with it. They were going to plague bomb the planet, Minho said quietly. Just to spite us. Not today, Taeyang said. Today we stop them. On Valen Prime, Sergeant Dohyun and his Marines were in drop pods. They had launched while the space battle was still raging. Their mission was simple. Get to the last Valen city and hold it until the fleet cleared orbit. 30 seconds to landing. The pilot called out. Private Hyun gripped his rifle. His hands were shaking. Around him, the other Marines looked calm. But he knew they were scared too. They just hit it better. Listen up, Dohyun said. The Krath on the ground don't know we're coming yet. We're going to land right in their staging area. It's going to be close quarters. Remember your training. Watch your corners. And don't hesitate. These things were burning civilians yesterday. They don't deserve mercy. The pod hit the ground hard. The doors blew open. The Marines poured out, weapons ready. The Krath were everywhere. They were insect-like creatures, all chittering mandibles and multiple legs. They turned in surprise as the humans appeared. Hyun fired. His first shot hit a Krath soldier center mass. It went down. He fired again. And again. Around him, the other Marines were doing the same. The Krath tried to fight back. But they had never fought humans before. They didn't understand how fast humans could move, how hard humans could hit, how much pain humans could endure. The Krath had been bred for conquest. Humans had been bred by a planet that tried to kill them every day. There was no contest. Dohyun led the charge toward the city walls. The Velans inside watched in amazement as the human soldiers tore through the Krath lines. These were the Death Worlders, the species everyone feared. And they were fighting for the Velans. Push forward, Dohyun shouted. Get to the walls! Above them, the space battle was turning. More Krath ships were breaking off. Some were trying to retreat. Some were trying to reach the planet to glass it from orbit. None of them made it. Commander Suman and her fighters had formed a wall. Nothing got past them. Every Krath ship that tried was cut to pieces. This is Wraith Leader to all units, Suman called. The Krath fleet is breaking. They're running. Don't let them escape. Don't let them report back. We end this here. The human pilots pressed the attack. No mercy, no quarter. The Krath had come here to commit genocide. They would not leave to do it again somewhere else. In the Krath fleet, panic spread. They had thought this would be easy. A defenseless species. A simple conquest. Instead, they had woken something terrible. They had brought the Death Worlders to war. More ships tried to jump to faster-than-light speed. The human cruisers had anticipated this. Gravity mines activated, trapping the Krath ships in normal space. One by one, the Krath ships were destroyed. On the ground, the last Krath soldiers surrendered. Hyun watched as they dropped their weapons and raised their limbs. He kept his rifle pointed at them, breathing hard. His first battle was over. Do-Yoon walked up next to him. You did good, kid. I killed 5 of them, Hyun said quietly. 5 less that could hurt the Velans, Do-Yoon said. Don't feel bad about that. Feel proud. The Velan gates opened. Thousands of Velans came pouring out. They surrounded the human Marines, touching them, thanking them, weeping with relief. Elder Vosh approached Do-Hyun. The old Velan moved slowly, like he could barely believe what was happening. You saved us, Elder Vosh said. His voice translator made his words sound like music. You barely know us and you saved us. That's what we do, Do-Hyun said simply. In orbit, Admiral Taeyang watched the last Krath ship explode. The battle had lasted 18 hours. The human fleet had lost 4 ships. 200 soldiers had died. 800 were wounded, but Valen Prime still stood. The genocide had been stopped. Send a message to all human ships, Taeyang said quietly. The battle is over. We won. Across the fleet, tired soldiers celebrated. In medical bays, Medic Nari worked on the wounded. On the planet, Marines helped the Velans put out fires and find survivors. And in the darkness between stars, the galaxy was suddenly very quiet. The humans had woken up, and they had shown everyone what happened when you threatened the innocent. The Krath Dominion would never threaten anyone again. But the message would spread. The Death Worlders were no longer sleeping, and they did not forgive. 3 weeks after the battle, Valen Prime was still rebuilding. Human engineers worked alongside Valens, clearing rubble and repairing buildings. Medic Nari had turned an old warehouse into a hospital. Every day she treated hundreds of Valens who had been injured in the attack. Captain Jiho walked through the streets of the last city. Everywhere he looked, he saw Velans and humans working together. The Velans had been afraid of humans at first. Stories of Deathworlders were scary, but fear had turned to gratitude. And gratitude was turning into friendship. A young Velan approached him. She was small, maybe the equivalent of a human teenager. Captain Jiho? Yes? I wanted to say thank you. Your soldiers saved my family. We were trapped in our home when the Krath came. Your Marines pulled us out. Jiho smiled. I'm glad they got to you in time. Why did you come? The young Velan asked. Everyone says humans were told not to interfere. You could have stayed home and been safe. Why did you risk everything for us? It was a question Jiho had been asked many times in the past 3 weeks. He gave the same answer he always did. Because it was the right thing to do. The young Velan looked confused. But the Galactic Council said. The Council was wrong, Jiho said simply. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules. Far away on the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Yuna stood in the main chamber. Around her, representatives from 50 different species sat in judgment. They looked angry, scared, confused. The council leader, a tall being with too many eyes, spoke. Ambassador Yuna of Earth, you are here to answer for the actions of your fleet. Admiral Taeyang violated council law by interfering in the Krath-Valan conflict. He destroyed the Krath fleet without authorization. He has committed an act of war. Yuna looked around the chamber. She had prepared for this moment. Council leader, with respect, Admiral Taeyang saved millions of lives. The Krath were committing genocide. That is not for Earth to decide, the council leader said. We have protocols. We have laws. You have excuses, Yuna said coldly. I have evidence that this council knew about the Krath attack weeks before it happened. I have evidence that you planned to claim Velan resources after the Krath finished killing everyone. You didn't want to stop the genocide, you wanted to profit from it. The chamber erupted in noise. Council members shouted denials. Some looked guilty, some looked angry. Yuna pulled out a datapad. I have communications, financial records, trading agreements that were signed before the Krath attack even ended. You were dividing up Velan territory while people were dying. Captain Jiho had sent her everything he found. The listening post had been monitoring council communications for years, and Jiho had kept records of everything. The council leader tried to restore order. These accusations are true, a new voice said. Everyone turned. Elder Vosh stood at the chamber entrance. He was not a council member. He had no right to be there. But he walked in anyway. I am Elder Vosh of Velan Prime, he said. His voice was weak but determined. I am here to testify. The humans saved my people. While you sat in your comfortable stations and made your plans, they crossed the galaxy to help us. They lost 200 soldiers, good people who died protecting strangers. Elder Vosh, you do not understand council procedures, the council leader began. I understand enough, Elder Vosh said. I understand that you let the Krath attack us. I understand that you refused to send help. And I understand that the only reason my species still exists is because the humans refused to follow your orders. Another voice joined in. It was a representative from a species called the Torvan. The elder speaks truth. My people were nearly destroyed by the Krath 10 years ago. The council did nothing then too. We survived only through luck. More voices joined. Species that had been attacked, species that had lost colonies, species that had begged for help and been ignored. The chamber was in chaos now. The council's carefully maintained peace was crumbling. Finally, a signal came from Velan Prime. It appeared on the main screen. It was Admiral Taeyang, standing on the bridge of his flagship. Galactic Council, Taeyang said. His voice was calm. Steady. I understand you want me to stand trial. I will not. You will obey council authority, the council leader shouted. No, Taeyang said simply. The council had its chance to do the right thing. You chose politics over lives. You chose profit over justice. so Earth will no longer recognize your authority in matters of genocide and war crimes. You cannot simply leave the Council. Watch us, Taiyang said. But before we go, let me make something clear. The Terran Retaliation Force will not stand down. We will not return to sleep. Any species that attempts genocide will face us. Any species that attacks the helpless will face us. We don't care about your laws. We don't care about your politics. We only care about one thing, stopping evil. An officer appeared behind Taiyang on the screen. Admiral, we're getting signals from 43 different species. They're asking for protection pacts with Earth. 43 species. Nearly all of them were small, peaceful civilizations that lived in fear of larger, aggressive empires. Yuna felt something shift in the chamber. The Council was losing control. For 2,000 years they had maintained order through rules and regulations, but the humans had shown there was another way. This is insanity, the Council leader said. If every species takes justice into their own hands, there will be chaos. There's already chaos, Elder Vosh said quietly. You just didn't see it because you were comfortable. The humans saw it, and they acted. The Council called for a vote. Should Admiral Taiyang be arrested and put on trial? The votes came in slowly. Many species voted yes, many voted no. When the final count came, it was exactly split. The Council leader looked frustrated. This is unprecedented. The Council has never been split like this. Then maybe it's time for the Council to change, Yuna said, or become irrelevant. She left the chamber. Behind her, the Council members argued. But it didn't matter. The galaxy had changed. Everyone had seen what happened when someone stood up to evil. 6 months later, Captain Jiho stood on the bridge of a new listening post. This one was much larger than his old station. It was the headquarters of something new, something that had never existed before. The Free Species Defense Coalition. 47 species had joined. They shared resources, intelligence, and mutual defense. If any member was attacked, all members would respond. And at the center of it all was Earth. Admiral Taiyang walked onto the bridge. He was older now, more tired, but his eyes were still sharp. Status report, Captain. All quiet, Admiral. No distress signals today. Good. Taiyang looked out at the stars. But stay alert. There are still predators out there. Still species that think might makes right. We'll be ready, Jiho said. On Earth, Lieutenant Hana was training new communications specialists. The listening posts were expanding. Soon there would be hundreds of them, watching over the galaxy. Medic Nari had stayed on Valen Prime. She was teaching Valen doctors human medical techniques. The Velans were learning fast. Private Hyun was a sergeant now. He trained new Marines at the academy. When young soldiers asked him why they should risk their lives for aliens, he told them the same thing Sergeant Doyun had told him. Because, when you see someone drowning, you don't ask their nationality before you jump in the water. Commander Suman still led the Wraith Squadron, but now she trained pilots from other species too, teaching them how to fly, how to fight, how to protect the innocent. And in the Galactic Council, things were changing, slowly, reluctantly, but changing. New laws were passed, new protections for small species. The Council hadn't wanted to change, but the humans had forced them to. Ambassador Yuna sat in her office reading reports. The coalition was growing. More species joined every month. The galaxy was safer now. Not perfect, but safer. There was a knock on her door. Elder Vosh entered. He visited Earth often now. The Valens and humans had become close allies. Ambassador, I wanted to give you this. He handed her a small sculpture. It was beautiful, made from Velan crystal. It showed a human and a Velan standing together. Our artist made it, Elder Vosh said. It's called The Debt We Can Never Repay. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. You don't owe us anything, Elder. We owe you everything, Elder Vosh said. You gave us our lives, our future. Our children will grow up because of you. We just did what anyone should do. No, Elder Vosh said gently. You did what humans do. You stood up when others sat down. You fought when others ran. You jumped in the water. After he left, Yuna looked at the sculpture for a long time. Then she looked at the reports. The coalition was growing. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had tried to be civilized. They had tried to follow the rules. But sometimes, civilization meant standing up to evil. Sometimes it meant being willing to fight. The humans had come from a death world, a harsh, violent place that made them strong. And now that strength was being used to protect the weak. Maybe that was the point all along. Maybe Earth's harshness had a purpose. To create a species that could survive anything. And once they survived, to make sure others could survive too. Far out in the darkness between stars, listening posts kept watch. Ships patrolled the space lanes. Marines trained for battles they hoped would never come. And if a distress signal came, if someone needed help, the humans would come, they would always come.